Welcome to Haunt Topic Radio, the podcast for haunters by haunters. These are our scary visions.
Welcome back, Haunter, to another episode of Haunt Topic Radio. In this podcast, we get Sean Herman on from Wicker Manor Haunted House. Sean is in the process of going from home haunter to pro haunter. He's just in his first steps. We share a lot of photos in this podcast. It was a free masterclass in our Haunters Toolbox Facebook group. There is a video over there. So if you are a member of the Haunters Toolbox on Facebook, you can probably find it by going to the search bar and searching Wicker Manor, or go to the events and see past events. You'll be able to pull up a video there. Another way to get the video is if you are on our email list. And to get on our email list, go to haunterstoolbox.com. We have a free plan over there, the Haunter plan. If you sign up for the Haunter plan, you will get on our email list. That will get you free videos whenever we have events like this. You'll get an invite. You'll also get our podcast whenever we release one like this one once a month, sometimes twice a month. You will get that in your email as well, so you'll never miss anything that we have going on. And that's at haunterstoolbox.com. So if you're interested in going pro and want to pick up some cool tips and tricks, if you're a home haunter and you want to pick up some cool tips and tricks for your home haunt, stick around and listen to this episode. I'd like to also remind you to see us at Transworld this year, Scare Badge Booth 1443. We'll have our complete inventory there. There will be cash and carry. We'll be taking custom orders for badges. We got some new products that we're going to release at the show. Got some new buttons, got some new iron-on badges. That's a Transworld Halloween and Attraction Show. You can find them at haashow.com for all your information about Transworld. We are booth 1443. Well, let's roll into it. Our interview with Sean Herman from Wicker Manor. Once again, we're talking to Sean Herman from Wicker Manor. And I want to really show some photos first, just to kind of tease everybody a little bit about what your haunt's like.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Tell us a little bit about your story. Just tell us a little bit about Wicker Manor as I'm getting these photos ready.
Sure.
How long you've been going and what it is.
Yeah, totally. So my name's Sean. My family, so we have my wife and my two kids. We've been doing home haunting for probably like about a decade now. Really like kind of more hardcore for like the past 8 years. And we started out purely as a yard display in the front yard. Really just trying to focus heavily on realism, authenticity, storyline, all that sort of good stuff. And then after like 1 or 2 years of dealing with the weather that we have here in Colorado, we kind of just got sick and tired of covering all the props and stuff like that with plastic. So every time it would snow in October, and also even the month before that, we'd have to run out there and like put like plastic wraps over every single little piece and prop to save it from all the water damage and stuff like that. So we eventually got sick of doing that. And right around that time, we started like getting inspiration from people who were doing actual like walkthroughs. And we hadn't even really thought of that. It was kind of just like, being a yard display, we just put stuff in the yard and then we would put it back down in our basement. And the very first year that we did that, we had a giant response and a lot of people that came. We had kind of like the whole neighborhood wrapped around the back alley of our house. So we started to get excited about that and have been doing it ever since. Each year we've kind of changed the theme to be something kind of unique every 2 years. So what I think is what most people think about us, when we do haunting and stuff like that, is we're limited to a space that's about 300 square feet. So it's It's literally tiny. It's like an 18 by 18 foot square almost. And inside of that square, the way I've designed it out is we have like 5 to 6 different kind of rooms in there. So when you go in there, it's like freaking IKEA, man. It doesn't feel like it's only 200 square feet. It feels like it's like 4,000 square feet once you're in there. So there's like a lot of tactics that I employ to kind of fake a lot of that stuff. So we're really heavily into like more of the theater aspect of stuff. So there's moments where you come in and you'll have this kind of like theatrical show. You'll go through something like an elevator simulator is one of our tactics. And then you'll go through this next spot and then come to another room and kind of get stopped and see that theatrical piece and then keep going. So if you were to kind of blaze through the entire haunt, it could literally take you 30 seconds to walk and run through it. But being that we try to slow people down and really try to give more of like that theater-based performance and kind of some more of that entertainment, it ends up being a much longer kind of experience for people. So yeah, so I would say like that's kind of like where we started and kind of, how it's evolved over the years. The past like 2 or 3 years, it's kind of gotten a little bit out of hand. As far as notoriety, I think, not only like on Instagram and through like the community at large, but more or less just like with the neighborhood and people in Colorado and stuff like that. So we've seen, thousands of people, lining up each season just to go through it, which eventually was good, but it's also kind of a liability thing too. So we, a couple things like led to us making this move to go to a more permanent location, and that being one of them. That notoriety has been good. And then like the past year has gotten even more kind of crazy because we were on that TV show. I don't know if you saw it, Brian, but we were on the ABC Great Halloween Fright Fight, which I think was a fun experience. And then we also were invited to go to Midsummer Scream, if you know what that is. So we drove our entire haunt all the way to Long Beach, California, and set it up in 2 days, which is a feat in and of itself because it usually takes us like 2 months to set it up. So we were able to set it up in the Long Beach Convention Center in like 2 days. And then there was like, I think they had over like 50,000 guests at that thing. So it was pretty intense. And then we had to tear the whole thing down in like 7 hours and then drive it all the way back to Colorado. So Midsummer Scream, we drove back, we set it up to film for the TV show in August. And then we did just one night. We usually do a whole month of letting people go through it just because of the sheer amount of people. But we just did one night in this past year because we were worried about too many people coming because of the TV show. So that was our last night doing it in the garage. And since then, we've purchased real estate in downtown Denver and making the move, man.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's what a lot of people are interested in, the move. I mean, it's a scary step for anybody. It's I get a lot of people. I do polls in the group all the time. What's your biggest obstacles? It's time, money, location.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that. How did you get involved in it? How the door open for you?
Yeah. So, well, I think it all kind of started with just that notoriety. So, people started taking more interest in it as far as like an art form goes. And then, having the TV show kind of get some more eyeballs on it definitely helped a little bit. And I think just overall, just people kind of being more aware of it was kind of important. And then also like leading up to the release of the TV show, I'm a web developer and web designer. So I'm very familiar with how to do like search engine optimization and stuff like that. So the whole month leading up to it, I was doing search engine optimization. And, anytime you searched ABC Fright Fight, our wickermanor.com was like the first thing that popped up. So like we were kind of, when it first kind of came out, right now we're not running any sort of like Google AdWords or anything like that. So there's probably very little right now, but yeah, leading up to it, I did a lot of search engine optimization, a lot of just trying to get eyeballs in it. And we knew the results before we knew the results before anybody else, obviously, of the show, but we couldn't just say it. So the whole, leading up to the airing of that TV show, since we knew we didn't win, the best thing that I could do as like a close second was capture eyeballs, so that was a big piece leading up to it. And then, just like saving up with my job, and we're in a fortunate enough spot where, we've been able to fund this up into this point just all by ourselves. So yeah, that's kind of like what enabled us to do that. And we have a lot of friends who are in like big wig friends of ours that are like in commercial real estate and stuff like that, who definitely helped us like find the right location and secure it and stuff like that. And I think that's a big component too, is like, at least in our perspective, is finding the right people that you could trust who know this sort of stuff when it comes to purchasing commercial real estate and all that sort of stuff. Because that's one big thing we did not want to do moving into a spot, was we didn't want to like lease a place, because when we're envisioning this thing, it's going to be a permanent structure. Like, we're not taking anything down. And the last thing I want is a landlord to say, hey, you got 5 years and then you got to unscrew all these bolts and leave, so luckily we're in the position where we're able to own that building and just keep building in there.
So what's your area around you look like? Is it, middle of the city or?
Yeah, so we're in downtown Denver. So it's a major metropolitan city. And the location we got is like right where the main highway, I-25, meets up with Colfax, which is kind of the biggest street. So it's kind of like the main two arteries of downtown Denver. It's kind of right in that area. We're kind of keeping until we get a lot of stuff kind of figured out with the city and stuff like that. So we're working with the city right now on a lot of different things like permits and a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes going on that we're working with. So we're trying to be a little bit secretive on the exact location, but it's over near Meow Wolf, if you know where that is.
Nice. They can just swing by there and swing by the haunt.
Yeah, and we know a lot of the people at Meow Wolf. So we're friends with a lot of people over there. And then just right up the road on Colfax is a place called Casa Bonita, which, if you know anything about Colorado, it's actually the reason I feel like one of the reasons I got into haunting was this place from the 70s. It's like a themed restaurant that has like a small little haunted house in it called Black Bart's Cave. It was a big inspiration when I was like a 4 and 5-year-old. And that's right up the road. And it was recently purchased by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the South Park dudes, who actually helped me. When they purchased it, they had me come help them reopen it when they opened. So I've had a little bit of help in the South Park Casa Bonita world as well. And that's kind of just right up the road up on Colfax.
I'm sure there's a lot of creatives around that area then. So
yeah, it's proven to be a pretty creative little spot.
Right.
I think Scarlet badges are one of the smartest things I've seen in the industry in a really long time. Scarlet badges are basically either pins or embroidered patches, kind of like merit badges, as they are, somewhat named after, from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Brownies, and where after you've accomplished something, you can wear the brag tag of the embroidered patch. Some haunts put them on jackets, some put them on t-shirts, some put them on, with the pins, I've seen them put them on lanyards. But the neat thing about them is they are very specific in what they are rewarding. And they're haunt-based images that reflect what's being rewarded. It's retention, it is bringing people back, and it's actually giving your haunters, your haunt performers, the ability to share that they are haunt performers. And, oh really, you're a scare actor. Where do you do that? And then they will insert the name of your haunt right there. So it's also marketing. I've always been a big fan of Scarlet badges. I think they're great. So check them out, scarletbadges.com. No, that is not a paid advertisement. That is just my recommendation. I think it's really cool.
ScottSwinson.com.
Yeah.
So see if I can get these pictures to go.
There's
There's one.
one. Yeah, so this is our garage, man. This is definitely where it all started. This is our gold mine theme. So we have a whole other haunt too, and all the stuff is just put into storage, And so we don't reuse anything either. When we've like built a haunt, we would just save it all and put it in a storage unit and then start fresh with a new one. So this was the gold mine, and this is the one that you'll see if you watch that TV show. This is yeah, the back of our alley. So like in the back of our house is like an alley where people drive to their garages, and it's like suburban neighborhood, so it's nothing crazy. But you enter there on the right, and then you go through a big elevator simulator that we built, and then keep going through. So that's the facade.
So in the years past, I have some photos of that too, but you change themes up every so often, or?
Yeah, so it's kind of like bounced back. I think like the two big ones that we did were like a Victorian classic haunted house, theme. And I just like love the idea of just an old school vintage style haunt. I'm not very much into having all these different crazy themes. Like I think keeping it simple is like where I live, and then generating a storyline around that. So the Victorian mansion was kind of like the very first one, and we had a really cool storyline for that one, which we really loved. And then after that, me and my wife kind of like put our heads together, and we're thinking of like if we're going to build a whole second haunt for these next couple of years, like what could be a theme that you could reuse really easily. And what we kept leaning in on was the idea of like a cave. So being in Colorado, there's actually a lot of gold mines here. And I'm obsessed with like gold mines in the Old West and Western stuff. So for me, it was like totally perfect, like Knott's Berry Farm type stuff where it's like really Western themed. Because we also were thinking about years after that as well, where we're like, hey, if we want to do like mermaids or something, like anything where there's a cave, you could really do anything. You could do, like cool trolls, or, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a cave. And so it didn't have to be gold mine related to be able to do that. We were even thinking like it could be a pirate theme one year, mermaids the next year, and stuff like that. So yeah, this one is the gold mine.
So will all these scenes, you still have the old scenes, and will they all be going to the new location, or are you completely doing?
We
What are you
actually
doing?
are scrapping everything. What's funny too is actually everything that you see here minus the props, and then that wood slats on like the left, we've already sold. Like someone reached out to us and purchased all that stuff as soon as we announced that we were going to a full-time location. Mainly because the people we know at like Meow Wolf, and then also like the work that we've done, like in theme park stuff, like the city really requires like a lot of keeping track of what materials you're using and fire ratings and stuff like that. So we're
Yes.
literally going to start from scratch, and as we're building, just keep an ongoing list of everything that's going in there so that we know exactly, fire ratings and stuff like that for every single room. So piece of plywood, we know exactly what the fire rating is. Any of these like rock walls, concrete type stuff, we know what we're spraying on it, and we know what the fire rating is. So we got rid of everything. So actually now the elevator and all of these like rock walls live in Arizona now. So I do not own any of this stuff anymore, minus the props.
Wow, clean slate.
Yeah, which I'm really excited for. But we will keep, without giving away like the storyline and plot, we are going to keep a gold mine aspect to it, and also like a haunted Victorian mansion as well.
Really like your details you put in and everything. I know being a small haunt, it's easy to do it because you only have so many, so many square feet to work with. So you can really get detailed on a lot of stuff. And you light it
Yeah.
up too, so everybody can see it.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm such a lighting OCD nerd. Like one thing that I notice all the time, and this isn't to knock any haunt or anything, it's just personal preference, but I'm like a much more like realist, like so I when I go into places, like I really don't like seeing like bright neon green lights or purple lights or orange lights, like that sort of stuff. Like I like seeing natural lighting, just because I feel like it makes it feel so much more real. And then you leave that like moment of breaking that realism with like the fun aspects too, because everything we do, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but we're an all ages thing. So we have no gore, no blood. There might be some like occasional, stuff coming out of like a body or, stuff like that, but there's no like intestines or chainsaws or anything like that. So we are, if you're age 2, come through and have fun. So we like to break that like realism with like an element like this here. So that's like one of those talking skulls that we put up and did a whole VO scene specific just to this guy who, when you trigger, he goes through and talks about a whole scene, and you can see that on the walkthrough video and stuff like that. But we try to make everything feel super real and authentic with natural lighting and smells and looks and all that stuff. And then those moments that are clearly not real, obviously a skeleton with fresh eyeballs isn't going to talk to you in real life. Those are the moments where we try to always break that kind of realism and make it more playful and fun.
Right. I had a couple of questions from Zach. One was interested in permitting, but each state is different, correct? As I found that out, a lot of different. It all depends what goes down to your county. Could be a certain area in your county that has different codes. So always check with your local inspector and fire marshal. So always. But
yeah, and one thing too, Zach, that we found as well is because we were working with like the economic team of Denver and all the like suburbs and stuff like that, and working directly with them to find a location as opposed to just, plopping somewhere. And so we've met all of these economic development teams through the whole state. And there was a lot of people that were actually like incentivizing us to open in their city, which I think was really positive and fun and cool. And one of the things, that I think is this interesting about that is, if one of those cities was incentivizing you to move there and open in their city or town, I feel like you could get away with a lot more, type stuff that you wouldn't have, permits would be quicker and all that sort of stuff because you're kind of in with the city. So that's kind of one little thing that I learned, as well as, talk about or talk to your economic development teams in your city and see if they have a need or want for what you're offering. Who's that loser?
man. I like your branding because you have these patches of the coal miner. Is that the coal mine company?
Yeah, so this is how deep we go. So we even we branded the actual gold mine and we called it Herman Brother Mining Company. So what I did was I designed a patch and a logo for that branding company, and then I went and made all these embroidered custom patches. So any corpse or body or any skeleton that's in the mine has this t-shirt with like a custom embroidered patch that like is all distressed and it says that. So like most 99% of people will never notice that, but I try to like carry that through everywhere. So like some of the crates, like dynamite crates and stuff like that, have that logo on it. And then also like in the animation in the elevator. So we did the entire 3D fully audio, like we did everything, like did the whole thing in Unreal Engine. It's like a 4K animation that we made for the elevator. But even when you like get into the elevator, like that logo is in the elevator and then you go down. So all of those little pieces, I think, really help to kind of sell the story. And nobody notices them, but those patches are pretty cool.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah. And this was like the very first year we opened, and I did this like super interesting cheesy logo that's all like photorealistic. But yeah, that's some old embarrassing graphic stuff.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah. And this was actually pretty cool though, because we had a website where when you went to this website, so each year, being that I'm a web developer, I make all the websites and web experiences for all this stuff. But when you like loaded the page, the animation was like the wood fell down, and then the skull fell down and his hat kind of tipped down, and then the axe is like animated behind him. So it was actually a really cool animation that we made just for the logo. But seeing it flat like this is a little tacky.
When it's moving, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, when it's like on a website, it's more entertaining.
Do you know what causes haunted attractions to shut down before they even get started? The top 3 roadblocks are lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of resources. As a member of the Haunters Toolbox, you get instant access to the tools you need to start and grow your own haunted attraction business. To get started, become a member at haunterstoolbox.com. Yeah, and so your elevator is at the very beginning?
It is, yeah. So when people come up, it's like there's like a queue line and it stops, and we keep that like just far enough away where people can't really see the elevator because it kind of breaks. Yeah, so if you looked at that facade photo, you could kind of see like they're over to the left, so they can't see the elevator move. So when people come in for the first time, they have no idea that they're going into an elevator because I like designed a little ramp that has a small pitch all the way there, and you can kind of see the very tip of it in that entrance, but that's a ramp. And so I do like a whole kind of spiel to bring you in, and then I take them into the elevator, close the doors, and we go down into the mine shaft. Yeah, and most people, because they can't see the elevator from the queue line, it's you just have no idea it's about to move, which is always fun.
How long does it take you to get? Surely you don't leave it up in your garage, or do you? Or when you were doing it, did you?
We leave it up for the whole month. Yeah. So usually we take like 1 to 2 months to set it up. And there's like varying levels of setup, so we have 2 cars in here. So like for that first month, we try to just keep one car off to the one side and then build everything on that 50%. And then that latter month, pull that car out, park it on the street, and then finish it. And then we usually keep it up for the whole month of October. And then, and then teardowns usually like a couple days, really.
Yeah, I'd always work on mine like a couple months at a time, like started up in August or so, and then September, and then finally be done
I see
with it by.
John in the chat. Why don't you use your elevator anymore? Curious. So this, you actually have the elevator.
Trying to get this loaded up.
Oh yeah, so there's that logo in there. And yeah, this is the 3D animation that we made. And obviously we synced the lights to flicker with this light. And then also the movement moves with this as well. So this was all done in Cinema 4D and Unreal. And what's cool too, all the audio we did with our friends at PlayStation Studios. So we actually did all the Foley audio. Yeah, that's inside PlayStation Studios right there. So all the sound that you hear is just done with really talented folks over there.
So that was the actual video that you used for marketing? Was that video?
That was just an Instagram post I made. Nothing crazy.
A little behind the scenes action going on.
Yeah, and I was actually going to make a full like how we made the animation and elevator and stuff, and sometimes it's like you want to do content, but you can only do so much when you're just doing it for fun.
Sorry, is that sound coming through? Can you hear it?
No, we can't hear anything.
Okay.
But it's okay. Everybody can go to our YouTube and watch all these videos.
That's right. And what's your YouTube channel? Wicker Manor?
Just search Wicker Manor on YouTube. You'll find it.
Okay.
I forget. It's like Wicker-Manor or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So this is all elevator stuff. So this is when we were like just building it out, and we built the whole thing on just a flex box with a couple of relays and a 4K player. Came out awesome.
Oh, Zach was also asking about your warehouse, your location. Is it an open warehouse?
Yeah. So I had a lot of prerequisites for the space. And being a clear span steel warehouse was one of them. So yeah, it's literally, and there's actually 3 warehouses, not just one. And each of them are just clear span, open concrete floors, and just tall metal building ceilings.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to, like just have an open slate where I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah. And this is just like some of my rusting technique and detailing on the lights in the elevator and stuff.
That was some more rusting.
Yeah, this is all just like behind the scenes of the elevator, which is, it was, and I think I think one of our YouTube videos has kind of a more in-depth kind of walkthrough of all this stuff, which I think is, if you're interested in building an elevator, I mean, we learned a lot from this, all the way from like 3D printing, all our like hardware and stuff like that. Is pretty wild.
You want to go into Mineshaft build, or?
Yeah, we could do that. There's quite a bit of stuff in there. And yeah, you can kind of start to see the layout with some of this stuff. Like this is just like the entrance, so just like props that we've made. And one cool thing that I'm a huge fan of, is like being that I'm like hyper realism guy. Like all the lanterns, well, all except for one of them. But all the lanterns and all the dynamite crates and all that stuff are like actually from like gold mines and old eras. So I have like a big antique fanatic. So I go out and source a lot of this stuff. So all those dynamite crates and stuff that you see in that dynamite room are actually like real dynamite crates.
So
Obviously
is
real
that real
dynamite.
distressing on that wood, or is that distressing you did yourself?
That is 100-year-old barnwood that I found up in Longmont. If anyone knows where Longmont is, that's where I was born and raised. Yeah, so this is all just real old wood, which I think that's the key for me is just finding authentic stuff. It's super easy to do set dressing and set design if you actually don't really have to do that much. It's
Yes.
amazing.
The complaint I get is, Brian, why is your stuff always so damn heavy? I'm like, because it's real. It's not like this quarter-inch
Yeah,
plywood. It's, I'm building stuff out of barwood.
yeah. Each one of these panels, because there's some of them that have wood on the front and wood on the back because they're like seen from both sides. Oh gosh, they are super heavy. And actually driving the whole haunt back from Long Beach for Midsummer Scream, the U-Haul broke down 30 minutes away from our house. And so we had to get it towed to the front of our house. And they couldn't tow it to the back where we wanted to unload everything. So we had to carry every single one all the way around the block and into our garage, which was brutal.
Mhm. And one thing I always tell people when they're designing haunts, always design around your props. So if you have to put a 13-foot animatronic in the center of your haunt, make sure you have access to that area when you're building it, so you're not
Yeah.
trapping yourself out. And so going to theming. So you're keeping the name Wicker Manor,
Yep. Yep.
and so you have a story around it that you're going to be doing, or
Yeah, it's a really cool one too. I don't want to quite
give it a
reveal that yet, but
yeah.
yeah,
You don't have to do that.
essentially the you'll enter through a home, and then you'll go through this given storyline. And the goal that I have is different themes throughout it for sure, but they're not so fragmented that it doesn't make sense from a storyline perspective. So we'll have a gold mine, but it'll all be set in kind of the same timeline and era. But yeah, that's as far as I can kind of talk about
Okay.
that.
And what have you learned home haunting that you're going to carry into professional haunting?
One of the biggest things I've learned is how to conserve space. Because yeah, I mean, all this, like if you click any one of those, like that 6314, you could pretty much see how small, 300 square feet is. It
Let's
is
see which one
not,
we have.
yeah, like any
Right
one of
there.
them. Yeah, click that one. That one's a good overview of how tight everything is. So obviously, going into a more full-time thing, we're thinking about wheelchair accessibility, all that sort of stuff that you need to do. So we won't be able to make it as tight as this, but there are so many things of like depth perception, scaling, force perspective, all that sort of stuff that we've like employed into the home haunt that we're going to for sure continue over. Just because we have a bigger space, we're going to try to maintain that, there's a lot packed into whatever it is that we're building. So that's probably one of the biggest things we'll carry over. Also, too, that like just the little things that people have begun to know us by, which is, all ages. We're passionate about letting 5-year-olds go through and have an entertaining, fun time. Like, I don't care to entertain a bunch of 30-year-olds. I'd rather make those 30-year-olds laugh and have their kids remember it and have fun than to scare some dude who I don't even know. So gonna continue doing that. And then yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I forget what it was.
It's interesting because when I started since sold the Dead Factory, but I wanted to make it the scariest, and then I realized there were so many people that wouldn't go through it, and that I was losing money on it because they wouldn't go through it. Couldn't even get my friends to come out here because it was rated so scary.
Yep.
We got the blood and the gore and the phobias and all that stuff, and it was kind of too scary for little kids. And then we kind of started doing kid nights and monster shields, and having like Halloween, we'd open it up with no actors, so that kids just can go through it, and we try to cover up the gore and stuff. But you actually building it to that liking, building it family friendly so anybody can enjoy it. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of more haunts are starting to do that too, or even offering a family style attraction and then doing a scary attraction.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, and even if that ours is all ages, we would even do like lights on tours and stuff like that. And to me personally, like I prefer some of those light on tours with no actors and stuff as opposed to like with all the effects going,
Yeah.
mainly just because I'm a set design nerd and I like theming rather than scaring. So I think that's just more my style. But oh yeah, and then the other thing we're going to carry over, which I think I just sparked my memory, was theatrical based. So everything that we do, we're working with we've talked with some people, DCPA, so Denver Center for Performing Arts, about hiring trained actors, that are like more theater based as opposed to just haunt actors, and maybe making it more of a theater experience rather than like a haunt experience. So we're kind of playing around with a couple of those things, and yeah, just seeing where we net out. Obviously we're gonna like change and decide that based on the storyline and who's available and stuff like that. But I think those moments of stopping people, everybody is so obsessed with like more numbers and more money and more throughput and all that sort of stuff. Like I could care less about any of that crap. Like I would rather give 10 people a really cool show and make $0 because that's what I'm making right now. Actually, I'm making negative money. If I'd rather just have that experience be great for those 10 people and they close up for the season and have those same 10 people come back. Like I do not care. Like to me, that's more about the art form and getting the right amount of like people who are interested as opposed to like the masses who are just there because it's a cool thing to do. So I take a different approach than most like people. And I don't do, obviously I'm not going to do haunting for the money, I don't think. So I'm more of it's artistic outlet, and I think people can get inspired by it, like I did when I was a kid, and hopefully create more art in the future.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges.
We always were looking for ideas to get those actors to take it to the next level. I really want to do something that they can use more than just a meal, or they can use more than just that a boy, that a girl. They love this stuff, but it's not really promoting a haunter. And then I sit down, Scarlet Badges comes out. That's when I realized this is amazing, because not only is it giving them an attaboy, but it's also promoting them all year round. And to promote somebody, to give somebody accolades all year round and have them be able to wear it on their shoulder with pride means a lot. This right here says this is who nailed it on this day in this year for the rest of their life, for the rest of their haunting life. And that's what I really love about this product, is you're able to give haunting to somebody an attaboy 365 days a year. And that's, so hats off to you guys. I think this is a great product, and I wish you the best of luck because it's awesome.
Get your Scarlet Badges at scarebadges.com.
Yeah, that's one thing that our smaller town haunts can do, because we were story driven. We like our actors were more lines, but you can do that when you're not pushing 30,000 people through. You can let a group go in at a time with their own group.
Yep.
We weren't pushing people, on a busy Saturday night, the last weekend of October. There might be a small conga line, but we always try to keep everything separate, minute and a half between groups. A lot of people, these bigger haunts, like, what? You can't do that. 5 seconds, go, which is, if you design your haunt that way to entertain a conga line, and you pull off a good show at the same time, that's a good thing.
I lean much more. I lean much more in the it's an art form and it's a entertainment value sort of thing. It's the same reason people that want to go see a movie, and there's only so many seats in a movie, so that's likely what we'll continue to do.
What's your what do you see being your biggest obstacles of starting and going professional? Do you see anything standing in your way? You go knock it all down?
No, I don't see anything too scary in the way. I mean, there's going to be tricky hurdles, I think, finding that balance between what the city wants to approve as far as like fire safety goes and what I envision for certain things. I'm sure there's going to be a couple like back and forths there. But I've definitely done a great amount of research and meetings with individuals in these city environments that I'm pretty confident I already kind of know what's expected and stuff like that. So, like biggest hurdle for me is going to be, I think, getting people to understand that it's not like this mega complex of terrifying chainsaw yielding people that is going to like chase you out of the building. Like, I think that's probably the biggest hurdle is changing people's perspective on what to expect as opposed to what they might currently expect, which is why we're not even calling it a haunted house. Like we're refusing to call it a haunted house.
Haunted experience?
Yeah, so it's called Wicker Manor Haunted Experience. So yeah, it's not, we're just trying to kind of break the mold a little bit, and I think if there is a hurdle, I think it's going to be that. So like, the first year might just be full of people that leave there and they're like, oh, that wasn't that scary, but I'm like, okay, mission accomplished. I don't, not trying to make it scary. Did you have fun? And were you inspired creatively? I think if I can check those two boxes, I think I'll be happy.
And I think Zach was asking about your actors. You plan on using a lot of actors, or you're going to build it where just a few actors can run it?
Yeah, being that we're going to do a much more kind of like, I don't want to say guided experience because it's not a guided experience. It is definitely a walkthrough with like pause moments. But that being the case, the goal is to build the storyline and the format and the layout into a way where you see those lead actors more than one time. And so the timing is pretty important with how they come in and out of the scenes. And I don't want to use like two different actors, if that makes sense. Like if you're the lead role for the main entrance and then you meet up with that same group at the end to like reconnect with them to like finish that storyline, I want it to be the same person, not just someone who's like costumed the same. So I think that'll be interesting to kind of do. So to answer the question, I think it's kind of somewhere in the middle. I would rather hire quality over quantity. And I'm much more for like, I'm not a huge on pneumatic style animations and props like that. I think those are maybe a little overused in the industry. So probably leaning more towards heavier actors. But once we design that experience, we'll see how it feels. I think there's going to be a good beta testing kind of walk through few months where we're really ironing out those kinks. So that's to be determined.
And when do you plan on opening Wicker Manor?
It's a great question. I wish I could open it tomorrow. The reality is in talks with the city and permitting and all that sort of stuff, we would be pushing it if it was 2025. We're likely going to be a 2026 grand opening.
So no more home haunting until then?
We might. There's right downtown Denver, there's a giant clock tower that's a part of the skyline. We might do an experience inside of the clock tower that's downtown on the top level where you can actually go out on the balcony and overlook the whole Denver skyline. We might do an experience in there this year, but we have not made a decision whether we want to or not. But we have the opportunity to do that if we want.
Daryl Plunky. Hope you're feeling better, Daryl.
Hope you're feeling better.
We're thinking about you. How big is the new space, and will you start smaller the first season and then expand to multiple attractions within the warehouse, or keep it all one big thing?
Yeah, so that's also a really great question. So we have 3 warehouses. The first warehouse is actually my full-time job, which I own a design and development studio. And so we're kind of doing this in phases. So that design and development studio is going to be the first thing that's built out, is essentially the offices on site. And then inside those offices, we'll also have like a coffee shop for people to come get coffee. So we'll have just like a general non-haunt related kind of warehouse, which is just offices, coffee shop. And then the second warehouse, which we're calling stage 2, is a wide open steel structure that we have plans for. And actually we're building that before we're building the haunt. And I'm almost more excited about that building than I am the haunt building, just because that's what we're building first. And I can't talk too much about it, but I will say that it is very immersive and very cool. And we're partnering with someone pretty well known on opening that first. So we will, and we're just securing that one partnership before I can talk about it. But it will be a year-round thing, that stage 2, whereas the haunt is a very seasonal thing. So the middle warehouse is going to be a full-time immersive thing that has a really cool component to it. That follow us on Instagram. As soon as I can talk about it, we'll announce it and talk about it openly and go through everything that we're doing. Right now, we're doing all the concept art, and then we built the whole space in 3D, so we can put on a VR headset and look around in the actual space and design it that way, as opposed to just designing it on paper. We're designing it in full 3D. So all that's all done. We just need to announce what's going on there. And then the haunt is actually phase 3, mainly because we assume that the haunt's going to be the least amount of revenue driver. Like I said earlier, like I would rather that be like the artistic piece, that we're not so concerned about the money, and it's more just like the love of haunting. And hopefully it's something that people who are into haunting and that sort of stuff can recognize as like more of an art form and less about a trough of people trying to get through and get paid off of it. So that's a third thing. And each one is, I mean, I'd have to do the square footage, but they're decent size compared to where we are with 300 square feet. I'll just say that we've got a lot more space compared to that.
Yeah, and I realized when I went from my garage to a warehouse, I was almost overwhelmed, because you're thinking about, you can contain this in this little small area, but then you have so much space to fill up.
Yeah.
So luckily, I hit up a couple local auctions around my area. They were local hospital was having a complete auction of medical equipment. I got a bunch of stuff for like $20 because they wanted to get rid of it.
That's
so
awesome.
That filled up a lot of rooms because a lot of it was medical things.
Yeah, and what you're showing here, this is like our first year in the garage. So this is like the early stuff where we were just like figuring it out and having fun. Like those are just like those vacuum panels and stuff like that. So that's all stuff that we likely won't have in the new thing. So if anybody wants a bunch of haunt stuff, get a hold of me and we'll sell it all to you.
There you go, guys. Wicker Manor on everything, right? Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, I think we're most active on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay.
Our Facebook is very neglected. Once it's a full-time business, we'll change that. But yeah, this is all like year 1, really, really old stuff.
So you still have all the walls and.
Yeah, this is all just in a storage unit right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And then candy, will it be year round or seasonal? So the haunt will be seasonal, probably 2 months out of the year. And then the other thing in the other building that we're building will be year round and reservation based. Yep.
A stack of wall panels.
Bunch of wall panels.
Was that your whole haunt right there?
No, this is that. I mean, that is that entire Victorian haunt in one little pile. Yeah,
Right,
that's
yeah.
literally everything for that. It's crazy to see it in just like a small little stack not put together. But yeah, this whole folder is just like old previous years.
Yeah, you sent them all to me. It's like, if we had time, I'll go through them. Shows you where you've been and where you're going.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
So when you start over new, so you're talking about fireproofing and codes and 36-inch hallways and egresses and queue lines, and what kind of team do you have together? Do you have help around you that's helping you put it together? Friends, family?
Yeah. I mean, we do, but with the haunt, I'm actually there's a handful of things that I'm gonna lean on some other people for, like theme park construction people, like things like rock work and stuff like that. I'm talking to, a lot of people that do that stuff for like theme parks and stuff. So I'm trying to do a balance of what I can control and make as good as I can make, but then lean on people who can do it better for specific things. So my whole goal with this whole thing is to make it as realistic as possible. Like I want people to go in there and not see, the roof line and stuff like that. I want it to feel like you moved to a new location. And I think knowing your limitations is a really important thing to learn in here is, like I know what I'm really good at and what I'm good at, like detailing, lighting, programming, website, search engine optimization, all that nerdy type stuff, programming, everything like that. And a lot of like ultra high end distressing and and stuff like that. What I'm not great at is like rock work, foam work, any type of like structural stuff. Like I lean on people that are just better than me. So there's a handful of theme park construction companies that I'm bringing in to, albeit way too expensive. It's gonna look really good.
Well, you're only gonna do it once. If you recycle things, like you said, you can turn this cave into a pirate or
Yeah, like
whatever.
the whole cave is going to be shot permanent concrete with its carved concrete, so it's not going to be a temporary thing for sure, or foam or paper or anything like that.
Well, it'll be fun watching your journey as you progress and get closer to the reveal. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think we've been pretty quiet since the TV show came out. But once we're going to Trans World in March. Is that next month? Yeah.
Yes,
So we'll be there.
a week or 1 month. Mm-hmm.
Sweet. That'll be fun. We've been going there for a long time, but we're always the people that just are quiet and don't really talk to anybody because we don't really know anybody in this world anyway.
Stop by booth 1443. Come say hi.
Yeah, I will for sure. But yeah, so we'll be there. And then I think after that, we're going to start a pretty, not aggressive, but at least be a little more consistent like we used to be before the TV show on Instagram and stuff like that. And hopefully once we announce what is in that stage 2 warehouse, we'll even be a little bit more open on what we can reveal there. But
So what's your I had a question, but I forgot it. But I'll come up with another one real
Okay.
quickly. So, as far as home haunting, how many actors did you have when was it ran just by a couple people, or was there more than one person?
Yeah, being that it was like 18 feet, if we had
Mhm.
more than a couple people, it would have been like super intimidating and aggressive. So what we had was, as far as actors, me and one other person. So 2 people ran that entire thing. That being said, we had someone kind of managing the queue line because it was pretty deep. And then my wife always did the pre-show sort of thing. So she would get groups together and get them ready so that when I came out to get them in there, it was ready. So we could just go instead of having this thing like who's going next,
Right.
So she was integral in that, which is probably the hardest job because you're dealing with people who are anxious to go in something new. And then also like because we had the elevator, we had to think about technical things too, like weight restrictions and balancing and stuff like that. So she had a pretty hard job of like breaking parties up, getting the right amount of like weight to go in because there's like a physical, element to that elevator, being that I was always riding it with them, but they were always on that back wall. So if there was too many people on that back wall, it would want to tilt a little bit more, just the way we engineered that thing for the garage. And so we just had to keep that in mind. So she ran the queue line, and then we had me in there as a main actor, and then always like one kind of focused scare actor that was like very much a like Halloween Horror Nights style trigger jump scare sort of thing.
How was the TV show working with it?
It was good. Yeah, it was fun. I don't know if give a thumbs up in the chat if you saw it. But it was a cool experience. I mean, I kind of knew this going into it, but I don't necessarily know if, something like that, like the people who are judging something like that are not haunters who know anything about what we all do. So, like I was a little nervous that like it would get shown in a light that wasn't like something I would really like. Like we were worried we were going to look way too cheesy, because there is a lot of like, I mean, the whole time they were filming, I mean, it was like till 3 a.m. at night, every night. And so like it was a lot of work to film for that TV show. But they would like throw us lines and we would have to just say them. And then we're like, after we said it, we're like, I would never say something that cheesy, like super dumb stuff. But I think, and I'm in this like entertainment world. So when we accepted the casting, I made sure to meet the producer, like, and go over ideas and stuff like that. And I told her, I was like, hey, like, I've been a director on TV shoots and I know like kind of how this goes. One thing, if you could just do me a solid and make us look like who we are, And I think they did a pretty good job of that. Like being that it's for TV, they have to kind of make it a little bit more entertaining and cheesy and funny and family friendly and stuff like that. So like I was excited that they just didn't make us look like total tools or loony bins, you know. So it was as good as I could have hoped. Had I wished the outcome was a little bit different, probably. But I think the person who won, like I messaged them directly right after the show and was super stoked for him, you know. So I think I was just hyped. You know, it was just a cool kind of experience to be on there. Would I recommend? Like, I already have a lot of Haunter people who are like, "Hey, we might like submit for it the next year or something like that." And should we do it? And I'm always just like, well, I mean, you just got to realize that whether you want to do it and you should do it is totally different, because the people who are judging it and all that sort of stuff, they just, you know, like they don't necessarily know the industry. So you might see something that's super impressive, but then you don't really know, like, oh, that anyone can go buy whatever that impressive thing is, if that makes sense. So like it was a cool experience. Would I do it again? Probably not, just because it was so much work. But hey, as long as someone saw it and got some inspiration, that's all.
right. That's right. Probably touched a lot of people with it. So
Yeah, hopefully that'd be
where,
cool.
where can they see that at?
Well, it's streaming on Hulu. I
Okay.
think that's the only place now.
And what's
So
it
you
called
can,
again? It's
the Great Halloween Fright Fight.
Okay.
So like we had a bunch of friends who were in it too, which was fun to watch. But I'm not gonna spoil. I already spoiled it. We didn't win, obviously. But some other people that were in it are friends of ours, so it was really exciting to watch it, and I actually enjoyed watching. We're in the first episode, so there's 2 episodes. We have friends who are in the second episode. So Chamber of Souls was our friends over in where's it, Michigan area? I don't know, somewhere up by the Great Lakes. But they're the ones that have like that haunted mansion like ride that my friend John made. And so they're going to be at Transworld this year too, doing something. So look for them there. And then we know this other haunt called Reichland Asylum in California. They were on the second episode. So it was really cool to watch them kind of go head to head and see who won their episode. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but yeah, it was cool. But you can watch our episode. Like we went against that Brick Thunder kid who like has a YouTube channel, and then Storybrooke Hollow. I forget the name of her haunt, but they're in like I forget where they're at, but they're like a really cool handmade fantasy land sort of vibe, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, you should watch it on. Have you not seen it, Brian?
I have not.
Oh yeah, you should watch it.
So I'm going. Yeah, I'm looking at my Hulu. So I'm gonna look it up. So people, it's about 8:43. We're gonna wind it down. So guys, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat and we'll answer those. So for people that are home haunters looking to go pro, give us some ideas, some tips to have in mind when we're making that jump.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now, so I don't have any huge ideas there, but I would just say one thing to think about, which I've been thinking about for the past 5 years now, is just whether you have the ability to purchase a permanent location or rent a space. Like, what does your financial liability look like? And just weigh that into what experience you want. So imagine you are leasing a space like a giant warehouse, and you sign a 5-year lease and they decide to not renew that 5-year lease, and then you're out. Just think ahead of those scenarios ahead of time. I think that would be the only thing I would kind of say to think through. And we went with the opposite of that, of purchasing, mainly just because we never want to have to deal with a landlord. But there's a lot of stuff that comes with that too, like property taxes on a property like that, and the purchase price, and being able to afford all that stuff is it's a huge barrier to entry. So that's one thing to think about. And one thing I'm trying to continue to remind myself is that this is supposed to be fun. You know, I hear a lot of people that say like, oh, I went like pro and now I don't even care about it anymore and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep that spark alive and make sure that I enjoy it before before I'm thinking about how others might perceive it and stuff like that, mainly just because I want to keep that passion there and that art form there. And I think if you do that first, people will probably recognize that and appreciate it anyway, as opposed to always trying to find what other people like and trying to hit that target. I think that's an impossible target to hit. And I think that's why a lot of haunts, I just get so bored as they're trying to like reach this new hip trend of like, oh, this new TV show came out, or we're going with like this because it's hyped up this year. It's like, I think it's better to go the opposite route, which is like, what am I passionate about? What do I think I can make that's really cool? And then present that as an art piece, and then see if people react to that, as opposed to going after what they like. Because people who go to this stuff, they change every season, they're like, and I'm much more, I want to make something more long lasting and branded, as opposed to something that's very seasonally based.
And it's smart how you're doing it, because a lot of attractions are doing the kind of the same thing, either opening up more stuff to sustain them throughout the year so they can utilize the property all year long. So you're having this incorporated and kind of cushioned around the haunt.
Yeah.
So if we allows you to have more time to, mold this masterpiece into something that you want, because hopefully your other stuff will be kind of carrying it, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that's kind of just what I'm thinking through. And it's also just, I'm just like an open book. So I don't really know. We'll see how the next couple years shape out, and hopefully some people who are on here can come check it out one day as well.
Yeah, definitely have to be flexible as a haunt owner, because never know what'll happen. It's all about experimenting. That is, it's just trying to find what you like, what the crowd's like, and don't get burned out in the process of doing it.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I also am trying to like bridge personal gaps between other haunters and stuff. So I think that, there's a lot of like, and this is me coming from an outside perspective looking at the haunt industry, but occasionally I'll hear, like bickering between haunts, and like just like people not hanging out with like other people who do the same thing. And I'm trying to come into this purely as like someone who just loves this idea. And I don't really care about what other people are doing. And, I hope that they wouldn't really care about what I'm doing, other than just to provide another art form or outlet and give inspiration if they want it. So I also am trying to actively be a source of inspiration for other people who do this, but also bridge those gaps between people who might not necessarily talk to each other in different haunts and stuff like that. So I don't know, I'm just trying to have fun, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, what I say, cooperation over competition.
Yeah, and I honestly don't see why there ever would be competition in this thing. Because everyone, like, I really do look at like haunting as like a very raw art form. So it's like, if you do exactly what your art is, it's gonna naturally be different than what other people are doing. And I feel like, let the people decide, I want to go see this experience because I like this. Oh, and then maybe the next night I'll go see this experience just because I like being super scared and stuff like that. So I think just more options is always better.
Yep, and be different, be unique, so you do stand out.
Yeah.
So you are the haunt that's more slower pace and has more of a experience to it, and there's more theatrical act.
Yeah.
Something that'll stand out in your market.
Yeah, hopefully.
You can always tweak it.
$10, but I don't care.
You can always tweak it too, because that's what we did that's what we did at the Dead Factory. Was I had a lot of trap doors, dark mazes. The actor, you actually had to interact with the actor, and the actor let you in this trap door. So there were several dead spots along the way. Well, as we progressed, you had to open some of that up, and by still giving your crowd an experience, you still have to open the door up, or we had to pull the curtains back, or things to make it a little faster, but not taking away the experience. Just little kind of having a volume knob, just kind of cranking up from 6 to 8, and then back to 6 on slow nights, and then crank it up to 9, and then so. But
yeah, we were already planning a whole bunch of stuff, but we have a lot of Easter egg type things, hidden experiences and stuff like that. So we're very excited for some of those, because I think they can bring a whole new experience to like the core people who are passionate about this stuff. That you might only hear about this one particular room or like thing that you need to lift or move to access something if you're in like a haunt community, or you're like on a Reddit channel that people are just like, oh, did you hear about this? Or, stuff like that. So we're trying to do a lot of Easter egg stuff that are purely for like the super fans who, if you know, you know. Other than that, just keep moving. So
Right.
that stuff is going to be really, really fun. And I look forward to building some of that.
Well, tell us where they can find you again so we know where to stalk you at.
Yeah, come chat with us on Instagram at Wicker Manor. And it's one big confusing thing is like people always say Wicked Manor, and it's definitely not Wicked Manor. Wicker, like wicker basket sort of thing. And then on YouTube, you can just search Wicker Manor. I forget what the actual handle is, but pretty easy to find. I mean, the logo's pretty branded and out there. So yeah, and then if you see us walking around at Transworld, say hi.
You have your hoodie on, right? So we can.
We probably will. I always debate whether I want to do that or not because
Everyone else
someone
is
who
doing
like loves to. I mean, I do. I'm a very social person, so I do like meeting new people. But at the same time, there's times when I just kind of want to focus and look around. But
That'd be a celebrity. Yeah, we know.
yeah, no, that's definitely not gonna happen. I guarantee you, I might get like one person that'll even recognize me. Yeah, but if you are out there and you see us, say hi. That'd be cool.
Well, if you're, we'll be there. So swing by and say hi. We might be pimping our badges, but swing by and say hi anyway.
Oh,
So,
I'll for sure be there.
okay. Well, guys, well, Zach says thanks again. Oh, last one, if you have time, where did you come up with Wicker Man? Last one,
Yeah.
we were on the way out.
Last question. The name of our neighborhood we live in is called Wicker Park, and I always just thought that was kind of a creepy name. And being that we had no intention of doing anything other than a yard display or yard haunt, we just called it the Wicker Manor for like the neighborhood because we just assumed that only the neighbors would show up. And so, yeah, being that I'm like a branding designer type guy, obviously we've built that name up, and now search engine results and all that sort of stuff has proven that there's no need to change a name if there's already a good backing behind it and good track record. So we just decided to keep it.
Brandon is key.
Yep, that's my full-time job. I know all about it.
Well, appreciate your time tonight. Good luck on your adventure.
Yeah, thank you,
Keep
Brian.
us posted. Yeah,
and keep hollering at me on Facebook. It's good to see your name.
we all will. You might have a few more fans after this. Who knows?
Who knows? Doubtful. Maybe one or two.
All right. Thanks everybody for showing up. Sorry we had some technical difficulties there at the beginning, but I think everything came through. And this will be on Haunter's Toolbox page. I won't take it down. I'll keep it up so you guys can watch it later.
Cool.
So I'm gonna stop this.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I gotta go
was
put my
fun.
kids to sleep now.
Yeah. Go be a dad.
All right. Well, I'll
right.
see you first though, okay?
Okay. I'll be there.
All right, have a good night, Brian. And tell
All right.
Daryl I said get well.
Okay, Daryl. You heard that. You're still on. If not, I'll remind him.
All right.
All right.
Cool. See you, man.
See ya.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges. Get your Scarlet Badges at scarebadges.com. Also sponsored by Haunter's Toolbox. Take your haunt to the next level at haunterstoolbox.com. Thank you for listening to Haunt Topic Radio. Please leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. Each comment you leave will help spread the word to other haunters around the world. See you next time.